All right, I heard there's a pretty big American football game happening this weekend. That is right, folks. Navy beat Memphis last night, but because that game is in the past, we are going to evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of the second best defense in the country behind Navy, Ohio State. It all starts with their block destruction up front. Their front, especially number 98, Kayden McDonald, erases a lot of schematic problems that this defense has in the run game. I think Kayden will end up a mid first rounder. He erases a lot more problems than people realize on this defense, which we'll get into in a moment. He has very powerful shock and shed. He's great in the inside run game, but he's also very effective on the backside of the outside run game, and he has really good bend. He is an eraser for this defense in the run game and will be one of, if not the, if I'm allowed to say that word, the biggest test for Michigan's interior offensive line in the run game tomorrow. Now, on the topic of their block destruction up front, that leads me into their next strength. Why are they giving up so few points? One of the main reasons is their goal line defense. All four of these defensive highlights are from drives that Ohio State gave up 0 points on. They've been so consistent at making goal line stands. I think a lot of it is psychological for opponents at this point. It forces offenses to think because they're so statistically good at the goal line, we need to try gadget plays and play action down there. And you saw that cost Michigan a touchdown in last year's game with that interception to Buckeye legend and flag destroyer Jack Sawyer. If Michigan would have just stuck with running the ball at the goal line, they would have beaten Ohio State by 2+ possessions last year in blowout fashion. So I think a key in this game for Michigan is not falling for the, oh, they're so good at the goal line, we need to get cute approach. Now, their main reason they're so statistically good on defense is because their offense gets up early on teams, which allows their defense to be schematically exotic and aggressive. And you see it pay off a lot in the passing game. And sometimes you see it pay off in the run game like you do here. But it does come back to bite them a lot in the screen game, in the run game. And they love to be in wide front, even on first and second down. And I don't know, I have a feeling that not having a first level defender in either A gap against Michigan might come back to bite you. So all this exotic talk about their defense, not sure if that's really going to be helpful against Michigan, especially on first and second down. And this leads me right into their number one biggest flaw with this defense. They are not gap sound. They are so good in the pass game defensively. I don't know Matt Patricia personally and his full philosophy on how he installs defense, but just from watching the tape, it looks like their defense learned their pass rush and pass coverage responsibilities first and then learn the run fits, because they're very, very sound in the pass game, but they're very inconsistent in the run game. Maybe they clean this up for Michigan. I would sure hope so if I were them. But it looks like the DBs are also very uncertain with when they're the final run fitter and when they're not. Definitely do not show Ohio State the video in the top right that gets into the schematic details of that. But it really looks like their DBs just flow with the ball rather than understanding when they're responsible for the D gap or when they're responsible for the C gap or the B gap. But it's not just the DBs. Their linebackers and edge players oftentimes try to two-gap everything, and it causes this picture a lot. General rule of thumb, you never want to have two guys in one gap. Not a recipe for success against the run, and it'll really cost you against Michigan. I promise you, Michigan's offensive line will try to create even more of this schematically, and the backs will exploit it every time they get a chance to. Ohio State's consistently, and multiple times per game, they don't have a linebacker in the A gap. The A gap, ladies and gentlemen, and they play Michigan tomorrow. So the good thing for Michigan fans is being gap sound is not an overnight thing as a player. It's how you learn your defensive scheme. It's how the whole system is installed. You have to essentially unteach a lot of things and reteach it to become gap sound. So I do think Michigan's offense will exploit quite a bit in the run game. And where they really can exploit it is going unbalanced, tackle over, extra tackle, speed break huddle, anything that forces Ohio State's defense to have to align quickly to an exotic offensive formation in the run game. Penn State had huge success against Ohio State doing it because, again, we're talking about a defense that is already not very gap disciplined, and you're then presenting offensive looks that make it difficult on a very gap disciplined defense as is. And so then you're going to give Ohio State only a second or two to react and align properly. They're going to screw up. And while we're at it, let's just keep talking about how Michigan can exploit Ohio State's run defense. I already discussed that it appears Ohio State's DBs don't know, or at least maybe are not confident in when they are in the run fit and when they're not. I can tell you for certain it is clear that if offered the opportunity to be in the run fit, they would err on the side of turning that offer down. Anytime an offensive coordinator catches them in zone, which is very often, and pulls a corner into the run fit, he wants nothing to do with it. They're very hesitant to insert themselves in the gap they're responsible for, probably because I imagine an Ohio State's practice consisting of a lot of 7-on-7. But I got news for the folks who were born this year. Tomorrow's not going to be a 7-on-7 tournament. There will be a lot of running the football, and Ohio State's corners are going to have to embrace that concept, which they have not through 11 games so far. So that's it for the run game with this defense. Psych, there's more. What else do they struggle with in the run game? Every form of gap scheme. Sharon might know a thing or two about gap scheme as well. Washington ran wham over and over again with success against them. Texas ran it here. I think it's wham. I'm not exactly sure what the tight end and left guard are doing here, but it looks like wham with a wrinkle. And if you remember, Michigan had about a 50-yard touchdown running wham against Wisconsin, the number one rushing defense in the country. So we'll see. And this defense has gotten gashed a lot against GY and GH counter as well, both with the back, but also with the quarterback. Arch Manning had success with it. UCLA's Wildcat quarterback had success with it. Ohio State should definitely not watch tape on early games of Michigan this season and should only watch the Purdue game. But all right, fine. I'm done talking about the run game, and I mean it this time. Ohio State should definitely focus solely on the run game because Michigan does not have a play-action pass game or a boot game. All right, I'll stop being sarcastic. Or was it sarcasm? I don't know. Ohio State's going to have to cram a lot of film study in the next few hours to figure out. But I do know that Ohio State's linebackers bite heavily on play action. It's just an observation, though. No conclusions being drawn here. I would never. But yeah, Ohio State's linebackers are going to have to significantly increase their gap discipline while also worrying about the best boot game in the country against a quarterback who's not going to miss this badly. So you can use your imagination to think about how Michigan's offense could see success against this daunting Ohio State defense. But it doesn't just stop there at the play action and boot game. There is more. We got to go back to the run game and tag some RPOs to them. Illinois had a ton of success against them in the RPO game using both receivers and their tight ends on slips off a split zone look. Could it be a big Marlon Klein sighting tomorrow? I don't know. We'll see. But this leads me to the passing game, which appears to be clicking for Michigan at a perfect time, I might add, which is big considering how much Michigan relied on its air raid passing attack to upset Ohio State last year. Ohio State's corners, when they're in quarters or cover three, give up a ton in the deep out, comeback, and curl area of the field. Again, a lot of missed opportunities here by opposing quarterbacks. So we'll see if Buckeye Slayers Davis Warren and Peyton O'Leary have taught Bryce, Marsh, McCulley, all of them a thing or two about exploiting Ohio State's weaknesses in coverage. You even see opportunities there sometimes when they're playing man. And on that topic, they are very aggressive at times too, getting away with PI some, but it has been called here or there. Something to look for. And then lastly, teams have seen some success against Ohio State in the screen game as well. But again, no conclusions being drawn in this video. This is just real football film, not AI, but it is some mumbo-jumbo commentary in the background. No useful information here, so just do with it what you will. But enjoy the game tomorrow. I heard some stakes are pretty large in this game.